Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Caffeinated Contractor. Today, we're going to be talking about remote team members, or commonly known as virtual assistants. And today, I have a special guest, a very good friend of mine, someone I've learned pretty much everything I know about VAs. I've learned from our guest today. He's a very good friend of mine. We go on walks every Sunday, most Sundays, actually, sometimes whenever we can fit our schedules in. But anyway, I spent a lot of time with this guy. He's a very good friend. Pete Neubig, founder, CEO of VPM Solutions. Pete, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chris. And just because we go on walks, just want to let your listeners to know that I am married to a woman. Not that there's anything wrong with that stuff, you
And
know.
not that there's anything wrong with it. No, no, not at all. No, it's
Uh,
it's it's fantastic. I spend, sometimes 2 to 5 hours, sometimes just talking business and life with Pete. So very good friend of mine here in Houston. And
yep.
um,
Thanks for having me on, brother.
yeah, absolutely, man. We met back in their property management days. I learned a lot about property management or about business and VAs from you, and sold that business. Now I'm in construction, and then I took all that VA stuff with me into the construction industry, and you're still helping me out with that today. Um, and so we want to talk a little bit more about VAs. Specifically, really, I want to talk in the construction industry or in the trades.
Yep.
Um, but I've already, had several episodes where we talked about, how I used them. I talked about an executive assistant, and the more people I talk to today are very afraid of, like, oh my gosh, I've never really worked with someone overseas. How does that work? So there's a lot of fears that come along with that. So today, we'd like to talk about and address some of those fears that people might have, that's kind of holding them back from actually making the decision of hiring a remote team member. So, um, Pete, we talked a little bit before the show started. We talked about probably like, seven different fears that people might have. But what are some of the common fears that, that you hear? What I thought was maybe talk about a fear, how you address it, maybe how I address it, and we can go from there.
Yeah. So, what does fear stem from typically? Fear stems from not knowing, right?
Hmm.
So when you don't know something, so when you come across a new situation, you don't understand it, you get stressed out and you have some fear, and then that might stifle you from making a decision, right?
Right.
Whether you're buying a house or you're hiring a remote team member. So the first unknown, which turns into a fear, is I don't know what a remote team member can do.
Hmm.
Right. A lot of you contractors out there, you used to, going into the office, getting your work order tickets for the day. All the girls are in the office doing the accounting or whatever it is, and everybody's like in an office space.
Hmm.
And since 2020, that just doesn't exist anymore. Uh, you know, um, I can tell you, like my new company, VPM, we do not even have any office space. I don't even have a co-location space. I don't even have a WeWork or nothing like that. So
Hmm.
that has really gone away. Also, since 2020, what has happened is the increase in salaries for U.S. based people has really skyrocketed,
Yeah.
and it
Hmm.
has across the world. Don't get me wrong. It's like, for example, people I used to hire that I hired back in 2017 for $6 an hour. Those same people are $10 an hour. That's a
Mm.
40% growth, but
Yep.
obviously it's not that big of a deal from $6 to $10 an hour versus 60 grand to 100 grand a year,
Right.
right? So there's this there are these forces that are happening that is really pushing companies, especially small businesses like contract, especially you guys, to find people that can do work for less money,
Hmm.
right? And so now a lot, we're that a lot of that's the solution is remote team members,
Yep.
right? So the first question we ask ourselves, what can they do? The big answer to that is anything that does not require to be at the property or have a license, right?
Right.
So you're still going to need your carpenters, your electricians. You're going to need these guys. They're going to have to somebody to swing a hammer. You need that person on the ground, right?
Hmm.
But you know, um, do you need an estimator on the ground? Can somebody on the ground take photos and then send it to the assistant, right? An assistant, like one of the big challenges that I've seen in your industry, Chris, is the
Hmm.
contractors go out, they do the work, And then at night they come home and they have to do the invoicing, right? Or they
Right.
have to do the estimation. Where a remote team member, you can send while you're on the job, you can literally send that out and that person can knock it out. So imagine coming home and all the invoicing is done, all the estimations are updated, and you just got to kind of review them. All the
Mhm.
phone calls while you're on the job are being taken care of, right? And so there's all these jobs that can be done while you're out and about. Um, you can have somebody do your SEO marketing, you have somebody take your sales calls. There's lots of stuff that can be done. So
Mhm.
so the first question really is what can they do? And it could be anything. How do you come up with that job role? That's kind of up to you. You can do a time study and say this is the things that I really don't like doing, or these are the things that are pain points, and to create a job from there. Or you can
Mhm.
create an org chart and say these are the hats that I'm wearing. Let me create a job description for each one of these hats, and which hats do I want to take off and give to somebody else. Or you can say, you know what, I want to give this whole process, bookkeeping. I'm going to give that process to a remote team member. So that's
Yeah.
kind of the first fear is I don't even know what they can do. So you get
Right.
analysis paralysis, right? The
Yep.
next thing is the next question that people have, Chris, is I don't even where do I begin? How much do I pay them? Where do I find them? How
Mhm.
do I pay them? Like because you don't even know the logistics, you get frustrated, get scared, and then you don't make the move, right?
Right.
So VPM Solutions is a not the only solution out there, but it is a great solution, especially for
Right.
contractors, because we partner with people like you. You've created courses for us. We have
Mhm.
specific skills that you can search by, and so these we have over I think 44,000 remote team members now looking
Yeah.
for work, plus another 1,500 that are working on the platform. So
Mhm.
you can go in and it's free. All of this is free. So it doesn't cost you any money. You can go in and create a profile. You can browse these folks. We have cool things like hiring for attitude, which is equal to akin to core values. We have disc profile. So if you understand any of these, and if you have a hiring system and you want to use personality profile, you want to look at core values, then you want to look at certifications. We have courses that people have to test out, get a certification. So that will guide you through, okay, now I can find them. You can hire them through our platform and you can pay them through our platform.
Mhm.
So now the
Mhm.
logistics is kind of okay. So now I understand what they can do. Now I understand how to find them, how I can pay them, how I can hire them. You'll have me back on, Chris, and we'll talk about like how like the creating the hiring system to get like
Yeah.
top
Right.
talent. Right. That's
Yeah.
not part of this today. So now the next thing is okay, Pete. Now I have them what how do I how do I know they're going to work? How do I know they're going to actually do
Yeah.
the job
Right.
because they're in a different country? How do I trust them? Like how do I know I trust them?
Mhm.
Right.
Yep.
And the funny thing is, like, I remember when I first started my first business, I was like 41 years old, and I always worked for somebody else. And when I hired my first person locally in office, I still had that same fear. When I hire
Exactly.
somebody, I'm like, man, are they actually going to work? Like, they're actually going to do this job? Like, for me,
Mhm.
this is like doesn't make any sense, right? So I'll tell you what I've found is a lot of the jobs that contractors have to do in their day-to-day kind of process life cycle of the job. A lot of that is I call $10 an hour work,
Yeah.
right? A
Right.
bookkeeper is but to hire a bookkeeper in US could be 60 grand depending on where you live, right?
Right.
Where I can get somebody for 20 grand.
Mhm.
So the cool thing is just because I'm paying somebody $10 an hour. Now, if I was paying that same person in the US $10 an hour, you're going to get somebody who is not high school, maybe don't even have a high school degree, right?
Right. Right.
They only see it as a job. They're going to have outside challenges that bring into your business, right? Whether their car breaks down because they have a hoopty because they're making $10 an hour, right?
Right.
Or they have baby mama drama. And I talk about this. This is all stuff that I've run into, right?
Yeah. Right.
Now, you take that same person in the Philippines or Mexico or El Salvador making $10 an hour, that is that is a really good salary in those
And they're
countries.
looking at it as a career, not just a job.
That 100%, right?
Yeah.
They're looking at it as a career. And guess what? Because you're paying top dollar, right? Good money,
Mhm.
you get more choices.
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And
Right.
because you're not hiring just in one city, right? Like I'm in Houston, right? When I used to have like when I started my property management firm, I was a brick and mortar guy, right?
Yeah.
I can only find people that were like within a 20-mile radius. So
Right.
think about the talent pool. It's so small where
Right.
now the talent pool is across all these different countries,
Mhm.
right? And
Exactly.
so you're finding people. So now, paying $10 an hour is akin to paying like 75, $80,000 a year here in the States, maybe even more. And so you have access to more talent there, and they see it, like you said, as a career. They're
Right.
bilingual, obviously. They
Yep.
have a lot of times they have some type of college, if not a college degree. Sometimes you even see them with like an MBA or a PhD or something
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
it's really crazy. So what I'm getting at is you're picking out, top people. So the fear of they're not going to work, they don't want to lose that job what you just gave them because they cannot get that job locally in
Yeah.
town.
Right.
Plus, more and more people want to work from home, especially in second and third world countries, because it's not as safe. And so I've heard some of our team members say, "Yeah, I like working from home because of safety." So
Yeah.
you're going to get somebody who likes to work from home, who's done it for a while, because you probably found somebody who's worked remote in the past. Now they're making good money, so no outside influences come in and mess up their problems don't become your problems.
All right, I want to back up a little bit here, just kind of cover what we've already went through. So the first one we talked about is what can I have them do, right? Just just for the contractors out there, my experience, and Pete, you already kind of mentioned this, is I made a list of what I hated doing and what I was not good at, and I took that list and decided, okay, which one of these can be done anywhere. So that was my first job description, and that took a lot of pain off of my shoulders and a lot of just tasks I hated doing off of my plate, and I was able to delegate it to someone. And my first hire, as you mentioned, these people remotely are looking at it as a career. So my first VA had a master's degree in accounting, and that's the type of person. I think I started her off at $6 an hour, and then I bumped her up after few months and years or whatever. But she took off a lot off my plate. She had skills that I did not have, and it really increased it bettered my business because of her skills, right? Um, and I remember I started my company before VPM actually launched, and I was trying to pay them in various different ways. And I remember I was like, every Saturday I was trying to do payroll. When I had it at one point, I had a team of 12 because I had the two companies, and it would take me 2 hours to do payroll because the system I was using, I had to prove to them that I was who I said I am. So I had to give them a photo of my ID. I had to give them a copy of my bank statement to show them that I'm an actual company. And each team member had a different bank, so I had to do that multiple times, and I
Mm.
had to do that every single week, and it was such a pain to do payroll. I hated doing payroll. And then when VPM came around, you and I were talking, you told me about VPM. I rolled everything over. Boom, that problem was solved overnight. I don't have to worry about payroll at all anymore. So that was fantastic, and I'm very grateful for that because if I had to do payroll anymore, in fact, I hired someone to do payroll for me, so I didn't need them anymore. Um, on the trust side, so you know, are they actually doing work? And that really is a leadership issue. And if you are not giving them numbers, KPIs, we can talk about it on another show. If you're not giving them stuff to report to you, like, hey, this is my KPI, this is what I've been able to achieve this week. If you're not monitoring that's a leadership issue. But that's how you know if they're working, if they're producing results. I know there's programs out there where they could take snapshots of the screens and stuff, but in my opinion, that's a more micromanaging and a lack of trust, and it creates a bad culture in the company. But if you have them KPIs and give them freedom to actually achieve those KPIs, I think that's more of a leadership, and it gives them ownership of their
Yeah,
team.
I'll add on to that, Chris.
Yeah.
I look at three things: availability, escalations, and KPIs.
Hmm.
So we have a policy in our company that if I email you, email me back in X hours. If I Slack you, you Slack me back in X minutes.
Yeah.
If you have a meeting, you're on the video, dress appropriately in the home office. Right? The next thing is, am I getting escalations internally, externally? Is Barb coming to me and saying, I can never get in touch with Nicholas down in Mexico, right? Or every time I ask for him to do something, something's not happening. Or am I getting complaints from clients? Hey, no one ever answers your phone, things of that nature, right? So that's the next thing. And then I look at key performance indicators, right? And so
Mhm.
having one or two numbers per job role is essential. And once you figure out the right number, right? For example, if somebody's answering phones, KPI should be 96% answer rate. Can't be
Yeah.
100%. People have to go to the bathroom, I guess. People call
Sure.
in, whatever. But you
Mhm.
should be able to see, okay, what that is. And so if their job is to answer phones and they're hitting 97% and you're not getting any escalations, and every time you slack them, they're reaching back out to you. You're in great shape.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so that's trust. We talked about how do we find talent. We could talk a little bit more about VPM later, like how people can get into it and find their talent. What are some other common fears that you hear people that are just like, I'd like to do it, but I'm just can't get over this fear.
Taxes. I think people
That's a
people
good one.
people are like, oh, how do I pay how do we pay taxes, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to understand that these folks are not living in the United States, so there is no 1099. Even though they're a contractor, there's no 1099.
Right.
They are responsible for their own taxes. All right. So again, with VPM, they have an earnings report that they can download. If you're doing payroll on your own, you have to
Hmm.
then you have to make sure you report all this so that you can get them a report at the end of the year so that they can show
Yeah, that's right.
their taxing authority that
Hmm.
they have that. So basically what I'm saying is you're not responsible for their taxes. You don't have to pay any employer tax or anything like that. And so so taxes is like non-issue.
Yeah.
Classification becomes, people worry about classification. If they, you know, Uber's running into this right now where they try to make Uber drivers all like W-2 employees, right? And so
Hmm.
because like they're saying that they can be classified as employees. Um, because again, the United States Department of Labor does not have jurisdiction over residents that live in Mexico or El Salvador or Kenya.
Right.
And so their authorities would determine if they're classified as full time as an employee or not.
Yeah.
All right. And so I went out and I said to my attorney, I actually went to a third party attorney. I said, do me a favor. I want to know in the United States, how many times there's been a classification of somebody who lived outside the United States that had a some lawsuit that they were misclassified, and it's been zero cases. So
Mm.
you don't have to worry about classification because the Kenyas and the El Salvadors of the world, they want their people to get $10 an hour because it stimulates their economy.
Yeah. Right.
The last
Yeah.
thing is tariffs, right? People are bringing up tariffs now, and I don't have an answer to that, Chris. Everything that I'm reading and that I'm looking at, because I'm watching this stuff daily, it's not on services, it's on products, right? So
Yeah.
they're going to tariff the product of the car because they want the production to be in the United States. They could
Right.
care. They right now the Trump administration could care less that somebody's doing bookkeeping for some general contractor for $10 an hour.
Right.
So I don't believe tariffs is going to be a challenge, and it seems like that we got bigger challenges to worry about than
Exactly.
tariffing certain goods and services
Right.
for small
Hmm.
businesses.
Yep.
So,
Exactly.
those come to mind as far as other fears that people have.
What about training? Like, do you hear anybody worried about like can these people do the job and the training, managing things like that? Have you heard any fears related to that?
Yeah, because regardless, even if they hire somebody in the United States, the
Hmm.
people just hate training, right? That's why they say, I want people with experience. You
Yeah.
don't really want somebody with experience. You want somebody that you don't have to train. There's a
Yeah.
difference there, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And I do not hire on experience.
Hmm.
Now there's what is it? There's an exception to every rule, the I before E except after C. Like
Yeah.
when I hire developers, I would like a little bit of experience, but not a lot, because even there, experience to me means that you have bad habits, right? Old dog, new
Yep.
tricks type stuff.
Right.
Um, so To me, I don't want experience. I want to mold you, but I like to train. We train people. We did it at Empire, and now we're doing it at VPM Solutions. The challenge is I'm already so busy that I don't have time to train somebody because you never develop the training systems,
Yeah.
right? Now, I will tell you, believe it or not, it's easier to train somebody through a Zoom link than it
Mhm.
is when you're sitting down next to them on the computer,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So even like when I work from home, and when my business partner lived in Houston, he would come to my house sometimes, and we would sit down and work together. And every time we had to train each other on something, I would literally have him go to another room, get on a Zoom, and we would do it through Zoom.
Oh, wow.
Because one, you're both on the computer, so you both have access.
Yep.
And you can record it. That's the main thing.
Exactly. Yep. Hmm.
Now, so again, this is a whole other deal. We can go about like getting deep into it, but high level is, even when I was working 12 hours a day at Empire and I hired somebody new and I had to spend an hour with them to train them every day, or 2 hours, I just had to bear and grin it and work 13, 14 hours a day to train them. Most
Right.
training takes 2 to 4 weeks, right? If you do it like we do, a monkey see, monkey do, right? So you kind of
Yeah.
follow me around. And then you not only, in 4 weeks, not only get your 2 hours back, but you get another 4 hours back, or whatever it is that they're going to take off
Exactly.
your plate. So it's
Yep.
worth it, but it's not easy, especially if you do monkey see, monkey do. You train
Hmm.
them, you use the video, you train them, they rewatch the video, they build their manual, and they train you what they learned on from the day before. So this way they're listening to you, they're watching you, they have to write it down, and then the best way to learn something is when you have to teach it. So that's how we
Exactly.
do it. And then you can use those videos as training videos. And then you can also have the remote team member, as part of their job, is to build a training program. So
Hmm.
when they move on, they get promoted, and they have to hire somebody. They don't have to spend the hours. They can literally just build. Here's the YouTube videos to watch. Here's the tests to take. And so
Exactly.
you literally can, you have to do the first time, and then they can build everything from there. So
Yep.
um, there's no easy way around it, Chris. You got to do the training.
You got to go through. But the thing is, you go through that pain as time goes on, and I'm experiencing that myself. On the other side is more time on in your day, freedom, right? When I first spoke about this, before on the show, where I had Alma started work with me about 4 years ago, just helped me out with Builder Trend or property project management software, and I would spend about 6 hours a week on Zoom with her. I'm like, hey, this is how we do it. And I would go through it. And sometimes there's a different, here, this is a bathroom, this is a kitchen, this is, different things that we need to know on different projects that we do. And as time went on, I'm like, okay, now let's cut down to, 4 hours a week. Then it's 2 hours a week. Now it's I meet her once a week for an hour.
Now
And
she's training
sometimes
you.
yeah, right. So now it's at a point now where she's actually just reporting up to me, and I'll just ask some questions and that's it. And I haven't really touched the system. I haven't logged in to build a trend in a long time. If I were to log in now, I'd be like, oh crap, what do I do? I have to ask Alma. She needs to help me out here, right?
Yep.
So, like you said, we recorded it. We got the transcript. We create SOPs behind it. At one point, we got busy. We got someone to help. Actually, we do have someone to help Alma out for whenever she gets overly busy, or maybe she takes a few days off. Now Alma can train this person, and it's like I'm living proof that there's a lot of pain at the beginning, a lot of time on Zoom, but now it's like she's running the show. I don't have to get involved anymore.
Yeah, look, you're literally leveraging other people so that
Hmm.
you can stop doing a $10 an hour job, so that you can do the $150 an hour job, or the $2,000 an hour job, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
How The only way you're ever going to be able to, step up and become CEO of your company is that
Hmm.
if you hire people, train them, and you hire the
Exactly.
right people, train them, and then manage them. That's the
Exactly.
only way you're ever going to be able to level up.
And just speaking from experience here, now I've got a team of four, and actually five. I got four in Mexico, one in the Philippines. Ken in the Philippines does all my social media, all my blogs, and all my newsletters. And I used to spend a lot of time on that. Now I've got a couple hours extra free a week because he's doing it now. I trained him how to do it. I created a
And
video.
funny, your business is growing. We just talked in the green room, and funny,
Exactly,
your
right?
business is growing. You got a guy
Yeah,
doing social media, and you have more time for sales, and your business
exactly.
is growing. It's funny how
My
it works.
job, yeah, my job is to find the next big check. And because my team, they handle the leads, they handle the follow up, they handle the project management, they handle all the contracts, invoicing, paying our subs, social media, marketing. It for me, I'm going out and developing relationships, and those are turning in, instead of we're doing $10,000 jobs, now we're getting 100, 200, $400,000 jobs because I'm building the right relationships. I've got the freedom to go out and do that now. And it's because of the team, not because I'm a great guy or anything. It's because I've got a team and they're
Because you have the
handling
bandwidth.
the
You have the
business.
bandwidth to do that now, and
Right.
you have to focus. If you're listening to this and you can't focus because you have so many things going on, you're wearing so many hats, you know, and he's like, man, I need to hire somebody, but I can't afford somebody in the States because of, the salary requirements, the
Mhm.
taxes, all this stuff. Hire one, two, three remote team members. You take all that stuff off your plate in no time, and it's going to cost you basically 3 to 1. Three
Yeah,
people, three remote team members is one US person.
exactly. So my payroll right now with my team, I'm paying about 6,000 a month. If I had the same team here in the US, because of the caliber of people I have, I'd be paying about $20,000 a month.
Mhm.
And that's not including health insurance and all that other stuff, right?
Employer
So
taxes.
exactly. So it's the real deal, and it's because of the remote. If we did not have remote team members, it would still just be me and maybe one other person. That's it, and I wouldn't be able to scale from there. It would have just killed me, and I probably would have quit a long time ago.
Yeah, I know if it was for remote team members, Empire never would have been profitable. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's that significant.
I agree, and I'm experiencing that. I mean, initially when I first started, I'm like, yeah, it's just words, but now I'm experiencing it. It's absolutely true. Um, so moving on to the next fear that I hear a lot is, oh, what if they steal from me? And I hear that a lot. I got my perspective on it, but I want to hear yours first.
Yeah. So again, I have cyber liability. You should have
Hmm.
cyber liability, especially if you have any data, any secure data in a platform, in a cloud, or anything like that, right? Um, so cyber liability, that kind of covers it, right?
Hmm.
So, so that the other thing is, like, you shouldn't give permissions. Like, that's what the training is for, and you shouldn't give permissions to anybody that doesn't need those specific permissions.
Hmm.
Right? Now, if you do hire somebody that needs those permissions, you have to build trust over time. And I've never had an issue with somebody stealing anything, whether it was, you know, my bookkeeper stealing money, or somebody stealing data, anything like
Right.
that. So I haven't seen that issue. If you're that fearful, you can also run a background check. And so it
Hmm.
takes a little bit longer, but you could hire somebody as you're training them, have the background check, takes about 2 weeks. It's not very expensive. And then when the background check comes back clean and you have to give them access to sensitive data, then you can do that. But
Yeah.
love to hear your perspective.
Yeah. So my thought is just put measures in place. You can Someone who's sitting right next to you can steal from you. It doesn't matter where they
Happens
are.
all the time. Happens all the
Yeah.
time.
I hear stories all the time about, you put someone, trust in someone who's in the same office as you, and they're making off with money. For me and my business, I'm the only one in the US right now. Everyone else is remote outside of my subcontractors, of course. But, I give my finance manager who's in Mexico a view only access to my bank accounts because she's monitoring money in, money out. She also sends out my invoices, and Alma does paying to the subs. But, you know, could she possibly pay herself somehow? Maybe. But that's why at the end of every month we go over our financials. And if a payment that goes out does not match up with the job and it doesn't equal out as far as the percentages and stuff, then we need to dig into that, because there's ways we will find if that were to happen. But really, for me, my perspective is, one, someone can steal from you from anywhere. It could be right next to you or someone in Mexico, Philippines, or whatever. But to get around that is put the proper measures in place, make sure you're monitoring things, and don't give them access to the bank account, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, little things like the AR person shouldn't be the AP person.
Exactly.
You know, So it's use common sense approach, and then cover yourself. Have the cyber liability. It's super cheap.
Yeah. I actually don't have that, so I wrote that down as you said it. So I'm gonna look into it. I gotta renew my insurance here in a couple months.
Yo.
Um, all right, so we talked about training, we talked about how do you find people, stealing, and then the last thing I have down is communication. Oh gosh, if they're answering the phone, someone's gonna call and think they're talking to a foreigner. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So my thoughts are that if somebody's going to be customer facing, that they should have good English. They should, they should not have a super heavy dialect. And there
Yeah.
are plenty of people out there that have that.
Hmm.
Again, I'll go back to like where VPM, where
Right.
we have video resumes. We can watch the video. We have an English test. So do they grasp the English, and what's their dialect look like?
Hmm.
So you literally, or dialect sound like, not look like, right? So you literally could see it before you even interview somebody. So
Exactly.
I don't think it's too much to ask, especially if they're going to be, customer service. And you're right, Chris. Like, somebody from Texas hears a South Asian accent, they just assume, well, I'm in some call center in India, and
Right.
their demeanor changes. Now,
Right.
if you hear somebody with a Hispanic accent, you think they're in Houston.
Yeah.
You just think they're
Exactly.
in Texas.
Yeah.
So I've always leaned towards, like, if I'm going to hire from Southeast Asia, in the Philippines in this case, then they have to really have good dialect, because not everybody in the Philippines has bad dialect. It's just
Hmm.
not. And I have a couple of guys that work for me now that are, you would think they're in the U.S.
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
and then you have guys that have that, the Hispanic dialect, and
Sure.
that seems to work fine.
Hmm. Yeah, I one thing I like about VPM because we're I'm not currently hiring, but I'm hiring for other people right now. And what I do is one when I create the job posting, I can say, hey, I want someone who's fluent or native speaker or whatever. I can't remember but the top one where their English is really good. But like you said, whoever sends in their resume or applies for a job, the first thing I watch their video. I want to hear their English, what their accent is like. Um, and you know and there's also an option there too where some of the VAs have lived in the US at some time, and so there's an option there like, hey, I want them to have lived in the US, right? So I've got a few people on my team who actually have lived in the US. My executive assistant actually grew up in Dallas, so I kind of lucked out there. She speaks like an American, but there's ways around it, right? Like you said, if someone's answering the phones for you or reaching out to people outside of your company, you do want them to have good spoken and written English. And there's tools in VPM to make sure that they actually have those skills.
The last thing that I can come up with, and I don't know, remind me if we talked about this already, but a
Uh-huh.
fear of, like, once they get hired, how do I know they're working for me and not working multiple jobs?
We didn't hit that one, so let's talk about that. That's a good point.
Okay. So, since 2020, lots of people, especially even in the US, are, working remote. And this
Hmm.
is a new pandemic out there where people, even in the US, have multiple jobs. I know one guy, he's
Yep.
got three W-2 jobs, and he's
Damn.
working from a computer in Delaware somewhere. I mean,
Goodness
crazy.
gracious.
So that is a fear, and it can happen. Now, you and I, we're very similar on this because we've talked about this on our numerous
On our
moonlight walks, sunlight walks, whatever. All right. So, right. So I'm a big fan of, yeah, I've hired you. You're in Mexico, Philippines, El Salvador. You're 12,000 miles away, whatever. How do I know
Mhm.
you're working? Right. And so communication is the first one. Not communication is how do you speak English, but communication policy. Right. So, we use three or four different methodologies of communicating. Number one is Slack. So if
Mhm.
you are, you guys, I know in the contract world, WhatsApp, right?
Yep.
So you should have a communication policy. If I WhatsApp you, then you need to WhatsApp me back within X minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. You have to remember, people are on phone calls, and they are working. And so you got, like, it can't be like right away, right? Unless
Yep.
unless that is your culture, right? It's like, hey, when I WhatsApp you, that's number one thing. You WhatsApp me back within 2 minutes. whatever that policy is, that's got to be your policy.
Yep.
Email. If I email you, you got to email me back in 2 hours. If I have a meeting with you, it is on video, you're dressed appropriately, and you're in your home office. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the
Mm-hmm.
first thing, right? So
Yep.
I call it communication, but it's also availability. Are you available? The
Yep.
second, the second thing that I look at is escalations.
Yeah, we
Am I-
actually hit this a little earlier on the availability escalations KPIs, right?
That's right. Did we talk about
Yeah.
that earlier?
Yeah, we talked about that piece right there.
Okay.
But
So
how do we know if somebody is you know, what are the key things that would indicate or red flags that hey, I think this person's working with for another person while they're working for me?
Well, again, I'm going to go back to the number one
Yeah.
way is are they communicating? Are they hitting their
Yeah.
KPIs? Like, and are they is stuff getting escalated? Because if those three things are not happening, I personally do not care if you work for somebody else.
Mhm.
Like I know
Yeah.
there's a core value there. Don't get me wrong. And
Sure.
with VPM, they cannot put time in for the same day and the same time for two different jobs.
Yep.
So if you see somebody putting in weird hours all of a sudden in their time card, that's a that's a kind of a tap, right? If
Mhm.
they're not being super responsive and they're not hitting the KPIs and getting escalations, that's a tap.
Yep.
Um, now, did we talk about like the time doctor and like screen capturing?
Just briefly, but we didn't get into that. No.
Like that could be something that you want to look at, but
Yep.
Chris, you and I don't believe that that is micromanagement. And if you have
Yeah.
to go to those reports and you're looking at time doctor reports, I think you know the answer already.
Exactly, exactly. I actually ran into this about 2 years ago. I had a guy on my team, and I'm not sure if you remember this or not because I talked to you quite a bit about it. He was a great guy, knew a lot about the position he was in, but he just was very slow to respond. Was not really providing the work that we needed him to provide. And come to find out, he was actually working for another property manager at the same time. And so, and I think that's when VPM put in that they can't put in, hours for the same time during the day. And then after that, you guys implemented that tool or that policy. I started looking at the time clock and he was putting his time in for like midnight to 4 a.m. or whatever it might be. I'm like, all right, this guy is not he's working for somebody else. But like you said, once I had that inclination, I should have made a move then and not waited.
Yeah. I think the last fear is this isn't really VA specific, but it's like if I
Yeah.
train Chris, I'm going to hire this guy, I'm going to train him up, I'm going to spend all this time training him, and then what if he leaves,
Hmm.
right? And my comeback to that is always is okay. You hire the guy, you don't train him. What if he stays,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you know, you have to treat these folks like you treat US based people. So whatever core values you have, whatever culture you have locally,
Mhm.
you have to figure out a way to extend it. What,
Exactly.
the way I do that is with a lot of meetings. We have a lot of company meetings, a lot
Yep.
of like huddle meetings, and so we do that and we talk about our core values. We talk about that.
Yep.
Um, and then the other way we do it is we have we bring some of our Central American people up when we have a couple of shows that we have to go to. So
Right.
obviously you guys don't have that, but that's
Right.
just another way. But go if you have people going down to see them once every couple of years, that's always
Hmm.
always really good. But also, believe it or not, giving them ownership of their job, like if not micromanaging, giving them ownership and holding them accountable. Believe it or not, people want to do a good job. They want to be managed. They just don't want to be micromanaged.
Exactly.
And so those are some ways. So,
Yeah.
whatever it is. So I've had some people have like happy hour on Zoom with their whole team.
Yeah. I've
Everybody's on
done that
Zoom.
before.
They
Yep.
have happy hours. They have game night. Like so, there's
Hmm.
lots of little things you can do to build that that relationship. But
Yeah.
that's really the last one that I could come up with. Any more?
Yeah. My thought is, I mean, if they leave for no apparent reason, it's probably a culture issue. And that's on the business owner to create that good culture. And just like what you're saying, we do have some good meetings. We always start with an icebreaker. And icebreakers are always fun. Once a quarter, we hit our core values as the icebreaker. So each team member has to go over a core value and teach the rest of the team about it and tell a story behind it. And then we also play games for Christmas time. We play like a mystery murder game. We've done that the last 2 years. It's a lot of fun. So doing things like that, I think in the remote world, you have to be more intentional because you can't go into somebody's office and say, "Oh, hey, how was your weekend?" Right? You just don't have that ability. So when you do have these meetings with them, you have to be more intentional. You have to like, "Hey, how's this going?" Or, "How's your mom doing? How are your kids doing?" I know that they were sick last week or whatever. Like, be very intentional in making them feel like that you really care about them. Create that culture.
Yeah, and look, if you're the CEO of your business, that is your number one priority is create the right culture. And if
Exactly.
you're wearing too many hats and you're in the business too much, you have a culture. It may not be the one that you want.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
culture should go from the top down, not the bottom up.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know we're approaching about 40 minutes here. I want to take some time and just kind of talk about VPM real quick. So, VPM's been around for how long? 4 years now?
5 years,
Okay.
where we, 4 years since the product launched.
Excellent. And you just want to just give us, tell us what VPM is, how people can use it, how they can get an account. What's that look like?
Yeah. So you go to our main website, which is VPM. So not N like virtual private network. It's VPM, Virtual People Management
Hmm.
Solutions, vpmsolutions.com. You can create a profile. The profile is free. Once you create a profile, there's like 3 steps. It's like super easy to create the profile. From there, you can browse. I think, like I said, 45,000
Yep.
remote team members looking for work. And I find it's fascinating. I get on there just to get on there every once in a while, like because we've implemented some new tools. So I just browse through the tools and everything. So you can browse by specific skills, by specific certifications, by specific attitude. So we created a hiring for attitude test that you can take for
Hmm.
free. That the remote team that the candidates take as well, and then you can actually say, you know what, these are the 3 characteristics that for this hiring for attitude that really are equal to what our core values are, and I can search for people that have those attitudes. We also have a personality profile, so you can take a disc test. You can take it,
Hmm.
and you can also say, I this job role, needs X, Y, or Z. And then you can create company accounts underneath that. So, like, if you have other people in the office that are going to manage these folks, you can create an account under them. And then you can also take some. We have some courses built. Like, we have a disc course for for companies. So we have specific company courses as well that you can take that are general business, general marketing, general sales,
Hmm.
things of that nature. And then so you find somebody, you match up with them. The way it works is, again, all that's free. You hire them through the platform. They enter time through the platform, and you pay them. And the candidate or the VA pays VPM 10% platform fee.
Yep.
And if you want to take on some of that platform fee, you have the option to, but it's not mandatory. It's
Okay.
optional.
So essentially, it's free for the business owner. There's no fee that they need to pay for VPM services.
That's correct.
Yeah. Um, I will say I've used VPM a lot. I hired my own team. We have a service where we do hire for other people. Posting a job on VPM is really easy, but I know it can be a little bit overwhelming too because once you post a job, you can get 50 to 80 applicants. You're like, okay, what do I do with all these things, right? So I know you have the ability to do it on your own, but I know VPM has some services too. Do you want to talk about the white and gold gloves?
Yeah, sure. So you're right. Especially if you're hiring your first remote team member, it gets, again, we talked, this whole thing was about fear, right?
Right.
So one of the ways that we help overcome that fear is we have a do it with you service and we have a do it for you service. So the white gloves, a do it with you service, where my team will work with you or your team, whoever your hiring manager is. We will utilize our hiring systems. So if you don't have a hiring system and you want to learn the process, then we White Glove is for you, and White Glove is free. So it's a service that we provide for free because we understand that people need a little nudge sometimes.
Right.
And so my team will help you with your job posting. Will guide you on what on what people to invite to the job, what you should look for, how to use the system. But you are still doing the work. You're
Hmm.
reaching out to each one of the candidates. You're asking them to, give you X, Y, or Z. You're messaging with them, and then you do the interview. With the Gold Glove, we do it for you service. You don't have any time. You don't have any hiring system. You don't want to build one right now. You just want somebody to do it for you. We take our hiring system. We handle all of the interactions with the candidates. We grade the candidates. We have a 10-point scoring system that we grade the candidates on. We also built an AI that'll tell us based on their interview. So we'll do a self interview. We'll record that interview and we'll put that into an AI that we built that tells us if they're a top performer, moderate performer, or low performer based on languages that they're using on how they answer. We ask the question specifically, how they answer them. So now, and then you get that synopsis along with a scorecard, and then their card on VPM will be green for the good ones, yellow for the middle, and red for the bad ones. And then you can either elect to, I want to interview with these people, I want to add more to interview, or hey, select one for me, and we can do it all for you. So
Yep.
that one is $1,500. It's the reason why it's so cost effective is because we built all of this tools into our platform. So
Hmm.
there's
Hmm.
still work for us to do, but we're able to you know to make it costly, and we've basically pushed the savings onto the client.
Yeah. And this could sound, for someone who's just hiring, very overwhelming. But don't worry, because that's all the stuff that VPM does for you. You just have to, like, hey, this is what I want, answer some questions from them, and they get the work done. You could also reach out to me, Caffeinated Contractor. We also do the service as well. We partner with VPM. We do a lot of hiring through their platform for other people as well. And I'll put all the links to all this stuff in the description and on the website and things like that,
Yeah, and
just so
Chris, the
people can
service you
know.
do is kind of, I'll call it the platinum or the Gold Glove Plus, because we don't interview the clients. We just do a self interview. You got your team actually does the interviews, right? So the interview
Yeah,
selection.
so we go through that. We watch all the videos. We identify who we like. We'll do an initial interview, and then we give them a challenge based on the job that they're applying for. And between the skill interview and the challenge, we take that. We come down with maybe two or three candidates that we will recommend to whoever we're hiring for, and then we have a final interview of more of a culture fit with the owner of the business, just to see, hey, do you think I can work with this guy? I already know they got the skills. Let me see how the interview, and just like kind of a culture fit type deal. It takes a little longer, probably about 2 weeks, maybe three, depending on the amount of interviews we have. But it's a very thorough process that we do actually put a lot of time into.
Yep.
So, well, cool, Pete. I appreciate your time, man. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you want to touch on?
No, man, I think we're good, especially since people are probably tired of hearing us for over 45 minutes. So,
Hey, people love the feedback I'm getting is that they love hearing us talk.
yeah, your
So,
mom and your sister are pretty feedback
yeah,
again.
exactly. Well, cool, man. Well, we'll have to do this again because there's so many different things that we hit on to kind of like help people out navigate through this whole decision making on hiring a VA. And then the other thing is, we're creating this course of like, I hired a VA. Now, what do I do? Right. So that's a whole different topic that we can get into
That's right.
on another show. So, but anyway, that course is going to be on VPN pretty soon.
We're gonna have a 4-part series.
That's right, man. That's right. It's gonna be good stuff. Well, cool, man. I appreciate it. And then if anyone want to reach out to you directly, do you have any
Yeah, you
specific
can
method?
you can email me direct, Pete at vpmsolutions.com, or go to vpmsolutions.com and just schedule a demo or schedule a meeting, book a meeting with
Okay,
us. Yep.
sounds good. Well, cool, man. I appreciate your time, and hang out for a second after this, and yeah, we'll have you on again.
All right. See you, everybody.
Thanks, Pete.